information does not end in one go. We have to do it again and again. Because in social science, what are we dealing with? We are dealing with human beings. Human beings are not rational. Human beings are very unpredictable. We all know with our own experiences. Your behavior in the class is one, your behavior with the friends is one more thing, with your family is another. So we are with our moods. So whenever you go for data collection or you go for respondent behavior observation, the context matters. How the person is, where the person is, what happened to the person the day before, what will happen to the person or what the person is thinking. So a lot of things. So we are dealing with people and it may change from time to time. So we have to research, re-look, re-observe. So that is the process of research, and that there is no end to that, how many re's we have to do. So that makes it all more difficult. Otherwise, social science research would have been very easy. Very easy. Go to the field, just go and talk to the people and come back. But that would not be acceptable, right? That would be just what? Newspaper reporting. How the newspaper reports go? They go and ask. You have to answer. And then they come and report it was finished. So our research, social science research, cannot be newspaper reporting. It has to be scientific. So research is just that scientific process of looking for useful information. Okay. Now, if I ask you what are the keywords associated with social research, keywords. What are some of the words which come into your mind when you think of social research? I would say words like logical. If you agree, just say. Otherwise, if you don't agree, you can say. I would say words like repetitive. I would say words like quantitative, qualitative. These are words associated with social research, isn't it? What else? Data. What else? Sample, design. What else? Analysis. What else? Huh? Conclusion, okay. Conclusion, suggestions. Errors, very good. That we have to deal. Errors, yes. Okay, so there are these words which are there in social research. Just we have to be very careful that since social research doesn't follow a typical pattern, there is no framework, set framework, we should be able to justify it. It should not happen that we have framed the entire research and then we cannot justify it in front of everybody. Some of them say that, oh, your design is entirely wrong. Then what to do? In social research, it can happen. It really can happen if the researcher is not guided properly. But in natural science, it will not happen to that extent because every step is tested. Every step is structured. A plus B will give C in the reaction. If the C doesn't occur, the person will stop there and then. But in social research, I can go on choosing things and go on interviewing people without even knowing that my area of choice of research is wrong. I should have taken the other person instead of this person. So I can finish my research and do a wrong research. So that is very disappointing. Okay, so I hope you now have an idea of what social research is. There are a lot of other issues like ethics. Since we are dealing with people, people are not things. So, and we are, I am a person and we are talking of another person, we are taking data of another person. So we have to maintain that sense of respectability. Do we anytime remember that? If any of you have done field work, data collection in the field, have you ever thought of going back and thanking the respondents? We have never. I have never done it. When I was doing my research first, all maximum we do is refer to them in the acknowledgement part. Right, 2 lines. I really am thankful to my respondents, but that is it. Why? Because we have to really be thankful because they have given us the data on which our entire research lies. So these are certain ethical things, maintaining their private life, confidentiality, the way we talk to them, the way we maintain their their way of responding, all of them are different, isn't it? So there are many things which, as researchers, we have to be very, very careful about. Because we may not, see, in physics, we know we are dealing with machines. In chemistry, we are dealing with things, or elements, or compounds, whatever. In biology, we are dealing with living things. So we know what we are dealing with, but in social sciences, we tend to become very careless and very relaxed because we are dealing with people like us. I am dealing with a human being, okay. Particularly when we are dealing with the vulnerable population, children. When we research on children, when we research on women, when we research on disabled, so we have to maintain that ethical standards. So this is also one part of social research. We have to be responsible. Okay. So when you are, and this is just a general advice, that when you are going through the course, just try to grab all aspects of social research. Just don't think, after data collection, how will I do the analysis? That's a very narrow way of looking into social research. After analysis, how will I write the conclusion? Again, a narrow analysis, a narrow way of looking into social research. Okay, how will I write my objectives? What will be my sample? These are all scattered things. But the thing you should be very clear is, why am I doing this research? On whom am I doing this research? Am I being responsible researcher? Okay, like in chemistry, we have to be very responsible because we are dealing with flames. We are dealing with burners. We are dealing with machines. We are dealing with air conditioners. So we have to be responsible that it doesn't burn out. We are not even responsible for, because of our own respondents, their burn. The people burning out on the fields. Okay, so this is also one aspect of social research. Okay. Alternatives to social research, like we tend to sometimes confuse ourselves and mix social research with these ways of getting information and knowledge. See, authoritative. I say A is related to B. I say this. Like, for example, that the women are in that household. Women are important. It's a very common topic nowadays. And you select households as your unit of respondent. Okay. You go to the household, you go to the house, and you are wanting to explore women empowerment. And you talk to the head of the family, who is a male. And he says, I will talk to you about the girls in my house. And that is only what you can get. So that's authority mixing with social research. I say that women in my household are very important. All of them have bank accounts. All of them have studied. These are certain indicators of empowerment that we take. All of them can go out without male companion. Okay, I have no problem. But then if you say that, do they know how much money is coming into the account? So, no, what is the, I am there, but they have bank accounts. So small things you should be very intelligent enough to understand. But if you wouldn't have asked that question, empowerment would have been 95% in that household. But actually it is 20%. So these are certain pseudo authoritative behaviors in the field which we can very easily take to be social research. So we have to be very scientific. We have to be very intelligent, okay, in terms of gathering data. So authority is one alternative to social research. Tradition. This is what happens. Usually this is what happens. And unusually what happens? Who will ask that question? Usually what happens, some will say that whenever we take immunization, a child dies. So we don't take immunization. So that is tradition. So we write in that village, there's a tradition of not taking immunization. But is that enough? Is that the end? Why? Just ask the question why. Social science research, you have to ask the question why. Why is there this trend? Is it only because a child dies every now and then due to lack of due to immunization, or is it due to the lack of it? So these are certain questions. You have to question tradition. You cannot take it for granted. That if this is happening, then it will go on happening. No, that is not social science research, because there are certain questions in your mind which you will get easy answers to in social science, very easy answers, and you may make the mistake of taking them to be conclusions. No, because see, either we are doing a PhD or we are doing a project. People who are working, they are doing a project. People who are scholars, they are doing a PhD. Everything is time bound. Everything requires money. And there is a tendency of becoming blind to certain sensitivities. So we have those resource constraints, but that may make us, all of us, may tempt us to take the shortcut. Oh, it's the tradition, okay, take it's the tradition. Not right, it's the tradition. No, we have to ask the question. Let me go into that. If that is the problem, then take a small sample. Don't become very ambitious. Nowadays, people understand. Take a small sample, take a manageable sample, in-depth learning. For that, always go for a pilot testing. Always do a pilot testing before you go in for the main project. Without jumping into the sample design, survey design, always go in for a pilot. Like when once you go to the field, you may get a feel that the field has different stories inside. You may have particularly when you are collecting your own data. That is why it is best when you are collecting your own data. You may get a feel something is there, something else is there. You may need more days in this village. You may need more days in this organization. So give yourself the time. Then come back, change your survey. Do it short because you have time and money constraint. Go in for case studies. Take that organization, take that village's case studies, take some more villages case studies. So change your design. So always do a pilot. You will feel good. You will feel satisfied. This feel good factor should be there in social science research because it's a long-term thing. PhD, 5 years. You have to sustain yourself. You cannot be depressed halfway. Like you feel that you should do a case study, but since you have designed a survey, you are going on for a survey without in-depth exploring. Survey is a broad general exploration. But you are not happy. If you are not happy, you won't be able to write nicely. You won't be able to bring out the things. And social science research, you have to put that thinking cap. Data will come. Spaces, you will learn spaces. They will give you the tables, the figures. But you have to write the conclusion. You have to write the interpretation. You have to give your suggestions. You have to link the theories. You have to link review of literature. That is how we write. So that is your work. If you are not happy, how will you write? Okay, so question is, am I getting authoritative data? Organization, the head of the organization, I will answer it. Principal, school, if school is a unit, the principal wants to answer everything. No, why? You want to question the teachers. If the principal is not cooperating, change the school. And just make a note that that school has this problem. If you get 2, 3 more schools like that, take it as a note in the drawbacks or limitations of the study. Put that in the limitation. That I could not get home. That is there in reality. You cannot overcome them. This is called a problem of no response also. It's something you are doing with people, isn't it? People are not wanting to respond. What do? You forget about that person? Suppose someone is asking me, how is your relationship with your husband? I say, I will not answer. That is my private life. So what? That person forgets me? Because I am also part of reality. You cannot deny me. So that person makes a note that one person has denied to speak to me. And if there are many people who doesn't want to speak on this topic, he or she has to make a note as a researcher that there were this number of people who did not want to talk on that. So they are also one group. You cannot deny social reality. you have not access to that, that does not mean you can turn a blind eye. So you question authority, you question tradition, you question common sense. Common sense, some will be tend to use it very often. Common sense. It will obviously happen, isn't it? That is one. Isn't it very common? Like, oh, in that village, all the girls are working. All the girls are educated. So, there should be less of dowry. Isn't it very common? Educated girls, the boys will definitely look at their education and take it without dowry, isn't it? No, that is common sense. All the children are going to school, so they are their level of understanding, their level of learning is good. No, this is common sense. It may not happen. It may just happen that all the children who are going to school are just because of midday meal. They are going there, having the midday meal, coming back. Learning part is, qualitative learning part is not that advanced. So don't take it for granted. Don't take it as a common sense. Yes, maybe out of 30 schools, 14 schools or 16 schools will have students who go there, learn something, eat also and come back. But there will be a big chunk of students, particularly in some remote places, where there is only one teacher or two teachers and they have to show the accounts to the government that they are doing the midday meal business. Business means the activity. So they are busy with midday meal. They come, the teachers come and start cooking. So where will the children learn? There is only one teacher, two teachers, primary school. So the children come, eat the meal, go back. That is common sense. Don't take it, just go in with your own observations, go in with your own explorations. Okay? And don't give common sense suggestions. Suggestions, we are very good in giving suggestions in research. Only give suggestions which can be practically implemented. We can give, like, you can use the methods of, like, for example, social work. We can use the method of community organization in dealing with the problem of dowry. One big sentence. How is it that easy? Don't give suggestions in the air. So we use common sense to give that also. Suggestions. A lot of suggestions we give. Okay. Analysis part is this much. Suggestion part is this much. That is what happens in research. Okay. Make it small. Make it precise. Make it very interesting. Okay. Media now is engulfing us. It's also a major source of information. You cannot you cannot use media in data analysis. You can use media as a base for review. Yes. Review. You get to know information. This is what is happening in this world. But whatever media is telling you, just you cannot accept it without exploration. Who is collecting the data? From where is it coming? Internet? You must be searching for articles and literature. How many websites can you really quote? How many websites do you get without advertisements? Academic. I'm talking about academic writing. Most of the writings now are having advertisements. Be sure the sites with advertisements, they are not purely academic. They have a profit motive also with them. So but there are sites, there are good sites where you can go and look for original articles. You should be able to see the author, number one. And that author should be from a respectable organization. You should be able to get it in the PDF form. All PDF articles are good articles, but not the ones which come with big advertisements. Okay, so you should be able to master media, not be a servant of it. Media is very useful, we know that. But let us not just take media as the king. Oh, you are the king, let me bow to you. No. Okay, you are one important resource and I am your master. Please act whatever I say. And I should, like, if I am the master, I should be really master in my knowledge, isn't it? I cannot be a master without knowledge. Okay. Personal experience. Personal experience should be outside own research, preferably. Preferably, there's something called biasness of researcher, involvement of researcher, neutrality. Social science research has these things in mind. We tend to ignore these things. Like, say, for example, if I'm researching on coping strategies of the breadwinner of the family. If the breadwinner loses his job or her job, the breadwinner, the male earning member, loses her job, and the coping strategies. So that is my area of research, and I also am indirectly a victim of it because I have a brother who's lost his job in this way. And the brother is the breadwinner. Maybe I have retired parents or something like that. Okay. So I have experienced it personally. The trauma, the coping, the discussions, the hunting for new jobs, the problems in the family. I have experienced it. It may motivate me to work in that area. That is separate. Motivation is separate from using your experience in research. You may use it just to, say, design the questions or whatever it is. You should not use your personal experience when you are collecting data. Then what happens, since you are a victim of that entire thing of losing a job, suppose you are going in a mill, a paper mill, there's a lockout, and you are questioning the workers and the management. So definitely you will be always biased in favor of the workers because you have been experiencing that. But maybe in that paper mill it's just the opposite way around. The workers are putting some demands which the management can never accept. You never know. These things are there in reality. So personal experience can be there. We are all having a personal entity. But we should be neutral to a certain extent when we are beyond the design stage. When we are actually going into the practice stage in terms of involving with data collection. We should not be on writing. Writing also we can become biased when we are writing. Since I am in a workers' family, I will always be wanting to write something which is in favor of the workers. But maybe my sample which I have taken, there are very good owners also, there are very good employers, and there are very rowdy workers. You never know. So that picture will not be depicted. I will be biased. So personal experience may be a problematic if the researcher is not tactful. If the researcher is tactful, fine. I may be motivated, okay, let me go into the problem again. But I should not be a servant to my moods, to my emotions. That is very, very difficult, but still, we should keep that in mind. I should try to be neutral. Even if that idea comes into my mind, I should be able to put it aside. So these are certain things which, as researchers, we tend to be a little relaxed. But if we do not make our research what we do is we tend to be very focused on data analysis and writing, because that is what is visible, isn't it? The pictures, the diagrams, the calculations, writing. But we forget that actually designing and data collection is most important. Particularly when you are using primary data, going to the field directly. So if your data is wrong or if your data is not authentic, on what are you writing? You are writing on something which is a lie actually. It's a lie. It's something which is not true. Your conclusion is based on untrue data. And that is really troubling. So be very careful when you are collecting data from people. Okay, science. So we have to be very scientific. Pure science, natural science people don't consider social science to be a science at all. Why? Because that is our fault actually. We tend to be unscientific at times. Um, Science is a way to practice knowledge, yes, definitely. Why is it a way? There are certain norms that the science should follow. Norms means what? Science should be repetitive, like A plus B, and 2 plus 2 gives 4. 2 plus 2 will always give 4. If I do, you do, anybody of us do, a small child does, any. But for us, can we be repetitive? Can our sample be repetitive? No. We accept that. I ask you today, do you like me? You say, yes, yes, we like you because you have to bear me for some more time. When I go out and I ask Daya Shankar to ask, did she teach that? See, how can you be repetitive? It's very true. You are following your opinion, your moves. But then what do? I ask a worker, do you like your employer? Yes. Employer comes and stands behind. Employer goes, no, he's a fool actually. An exploitative employer. So what do? We have measures to correct these. We have certain things called reliability and validity of sampling. We have to accept that to a certain extent we will have error. A very nice word she said, error. We have to accept it. So natural science people have to accept. Instead of taunting us, they have to accept that we are dealing with very sensitive objects. People. We cannot be 100% correct always. But for on our, that is their responsibility to give us respect. But for our side, we have to earn the respect. Earn the respect. We have to do work which gives them the thing to tell us, okay, you are doing good work. Right? We have to have validation of our sample. We have to have reliability in sampling. Okay. We have the system of going back to the field once again. If you have a doubt in your mind, that is why we say take a manageable sample. If you have a doubt, I asked this fellow how much you earn. He said only 5,000 rupees per month. But I see his home, nice and big and very well furnished, which is definitely pointing to the fact that it's more than 5,000. Something is there. So I go back again, or I ask the neighbors. So I explode. This is a scientific mind. I explode. This is repetition, isn't it? We will definitely not have 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, but we will have steps, we will have certain measures to make our sample reliable, to make our data valid. We have things. Okay, so it's a way to, we'll borrow certain ways from the scientific community. We'll borrow it. Both the system of producing knowledge and the knowledge produced is called science. So science is a way of work. It is also the product of the work. So when we read something, it's science. The writing is science. And the way the writing is done is also science. Okay, understood? Organized in the form of theories. That is for social science. Who is the scientific community? Okay, definitely it's a collection of people. And we are all part of the scientific community, isn't it? We are a part of the social science community, and we can be proudly saying that it's also science, and it has got a set of norms and attitudes. We have to follow. If we say we are doing scientific research, we have to say that we will follow scientific norms and scientific attitudes. What are those? Why am I telling you all these things? I am telling you all these things because we have to remember that you have a responsibility. You cannot just say that I am doing scientific research without being scientific. No? That is being untrue to your research, isn't it? So if you are a scientific researcher, if you are a social science practitioner, you have to be practicing universalism. What does that mean? You have to be universal in your attitude. You cannot have narrowness in your mind. You cannot have biasness in your mind. You cannot have personal sensitivities in your mind when you are collecting data. You cannot have anger. You cannot have grudges. Oh, I don't like that person. I will not include him in my data collection. I usually don't like that area, so I will not go there. If you do these things, you are becoming unscientific. Okay, so you have to have that universalism. Like in physics, if you take a mirror, you always see your left hand and right hand opposite, isn't it? It's in Hong Kong also the same thing, in Bengal also is the same thing, so it's a scientific rule. Okay, organized skepticism. Organized, what do you mean by skepticism? Doubt, yes. Critical analysis, but organized. You cannot just go on arguing just like that. You have to have a base for that. A scientific base for a justification. If you say that your sample is wrong, you have to know where your sample went wrong. If anybody tells you when you are justifying your work that your design is wrong, you have to ask where my design is wrong, and you have to justify your work. For that, what do you need? You need knowledge of all the designs, isn't it? You cannot just only know exploratory design or descriptive design without knowing what experimental design is. Okay, so if you have to critique, you have to be knowledgeable. Otherwise, if you open your mouth, everybody will know that this person is just throwing criticisms in the air. So nobody will take you for granted. Disinterestedness, no personal involvement. There should be no personal involvement, no underhand dealings in science. Okay. Why am I telling you again all these things? Because we are dealing with people. Be very careful when you are collecting data. Let us not take shortcuts. Somebody says, okay, I will do it for you. I know this area very well, so I will do this work for you. Don't believe anybody. Go to your own respondents, go to your own data, you will feel satisfied. And this feel-good factor will take you till the end. Otherwise, what happens? Burnout, depression, 5 years of PhD. After 2.5 years, you tend to get very, very depressed. No, because you are not enjoying your work. Don't blame your supervisor and don't blame your that you are not getting work. No. Since you are not true to your work. Okay. Communalism, they are all in one community, scientific community. What does that mean? In a community, what happens? Sharing. It is not like this is my note, I will not give it to you. Share your knowledge. Ask for suggestions. The more you share your knowledge, the more you ask people, just look at this, am I going in the right direction? Or is there something which I am missing? And today, nowadays with the media and wireless communication, internet, it's become so easy. Okay, don't be frightened that you will lose your work. If you are good in your work, nobody can take your work away from you. Okay? And finally, last but not the least, honesty. I have told this time and again, how honesty pays till the end. Okay. You know these steps in the research process? Clear? Should I skip this slide? Is it repetition? Just tell me, or otherwise I'll just go through very fast. Is it clear to all of you here? Okay. Do you know the difference between quantitative research and qualitative research? Since I'm not dealing with qualitative research today, sampling the samples I will be talking about today is more or less quantitative. So, if I write this, data condenser, is it okay? Is it a key word in quantitative research? If I say it's a data condenser or data summarizer, is it okay? Again, if you say yes, why? If you say no, why?
Can you speak more about condenser?
Condenser means you're condensing. You are narrowing. You are summarizing. You are focusing. You are making it more precise. That is condenser. Data condenser. What do you mean by this? Do you know mean median mode? What do? Very simple. What is average? What is the concept of average?
Central tendency.
Yes, yes, that I know. What does it do? What does it do? What is average? What is the concept of average? What is the average age in your class, if I ask you?
It gives the figure for the age group.
Correct. So isn't it summarizing? So isn't it condensing? So that is what is quantitative research. It is condensing data. It is summarizing data. Whereas in qualitative research, it is not here. It is data enhancer. Fountain, from a small point, you are exploring. You start with small case studies. Bring in data. Explore data. Data induction. Induction goes with qualitative research. And what goes with quantitative research? The brother of induction? Huh? Correct. Please be loud. You are right. Deduction, yes. Okay. I have slides on deduction. So understood quantitative research. You have to broaden your database. You have to work with a lot of people. You should be at the surface. You cannot go deep down. It's not possible. We are human beings. Supposing we have a sample of 500, 600, which is the standard for PhD, 300 to 600 minimum. So we cannot do 300 case studies, isn't it? We cannot do it. So that's called a survey, isn't it? So we have to broaden, we have to be up in the surface and look for generalizations. We are looking for generalizations in quantitative research. Generalizing. What is average? What is the concept? Like we said, central tendency. What is the concept of central tendency? Central. This is the average X bar in statistics. Huh? So what does it do? It's a one number, and what he said was exactly correct. One number which is representing the entire data set. Some are more and some are less. Some of you are younger, some of you are senior. Okay, and there is a mean age. Summarizing, condensing. Okay, so that is central tendency. Why is it called central tendency? Keep a why behind everything. Always I tell my students, put a why. You never know, somebody asks you, why is this, and you are not able to answer. That is very embarrassing. So always put a why. Why is it called measures of dispersion? Why are they called measures of correlation? What is testing of hypothesis? Why is it testing? What is the need of testing? Simple things. Don't go in for chi-square and t-test without knowing what is testing. Okay. Quantitative data. See, we have thrice. For three things we use quantitative. Quantitative data approach, quantitative research, quantitative data, and quantitative analysis. But these three should not, it's not that you have to have all these things together. See, quantitative, they are separate things. Quantitative is one magic word. We can have quantitative research, we can have quantitative data, and we can have quantitative analysis. But don't think that in quantitative research, we always should have quantitative data and we should always do quantitative analysis. Or in qualitative data, we cannot have quantitative, in qualitative research, we cannot have quantitative data and we cannot have quantitative analysis. See, qualitative research and quantitative research are two different approaches to research. The way I do research, like as I said, quantitative research is data summarizer, qualitative research is data enhancer. Now, how you are doing it, that's a separate thing. How we are doing it is this, and why we are doing it is research. Okay, if we are doing a survey, you know, all of you know survey? Survey, who doesn't know, tell me, I will tell it in 2 words. Okay, all of you know what is a survey. It's a big work, lot of people. Okay, it's a small brother of census, isn't it? very tiny brother of census. So survey, it is a qualitative research. Any doubt on that now? Is a survey a quantitative research or a qualitative research? Tell me. Let us be clear. Is doing a survey a qualitative research or a quantitative research? Qualitative research or quantitative research? Give an example of a survey. Tell me the sample size. Yeah, anything. Okay, survey on immunization in Birbhum district. Survey on immunization in Birbhum district. Can we? What is the sample size? Just hypothetical. You don't have to see the number of children and this and that. Huh? Correct. 1,000. Okay. And then what are we trying to find out? On immunization, what do we have to find out? One or two objectives? Just one objective? Some measurements? Percentage of children immunized in the age group 0 to 6 years. Correct? Okay. So that is percentage of children immunized. It's a survey on immunization. This is the basic data test we have to do. We have to show percentage of children immunized. Okay, I get a percentage. Say 60. What is this? Quantitative research or qualitative research? I am short of hearing. I'm old. Huh? Quantitative. Why? See, I put a Y. I didn't understand, so I put a Y. Data?
Data is being collected from each and every person in the sample.
No, did I tell you? Each and every person has a sample. Okay, that is correct.
So since we're going to
I have, okay, one minute. I have 7 case studies. I collect data from each and every case study.
but we are collecting quantitative data.
Case study also say, what is your income? That's quantitative data. Yes, you are coming to the point. You are putting your thinking gap. Yes, try. I am just asking you whether this is quantitative research or qualitative research in terms of approach to research. That is different from data and analysis.
Okay, our approach is quantitative because we are trying to measure the immunization with the help of percentage.
Quantitative.
Because since you are measuring the percentage.
No, just quantitative or qualitative?
Quantitative.
Quantitative. Okay, why? Because it's measured for percentage. Because we are using percentage.
Percentage is a measure of
I take 7 cases and say, out of them, say there are.
We are taking case studies
Yeah.
and it's a qualitative one.
Correct. Why?
Because for case
Why are you looking to the analysis part? I'm talking about the conceptual part. I told you just say 5 minutes back that in quantitative research, it is data summarized. Just remember this. We are summarizing data, isn't it? What is the approach? You are thinking. Just be very clear. In quantitative research, which is the quantitative approach actually, you can have qualitative data, you can have quantitative data. You can have qualitative analysis, you can have quantitative analysis. You can definitely have qualitative analysis in quantitative research, but you should definitely have quantitative analysis also. It will automatically come. You cannot deny quantitative analysis in quantitative research. But some of us think that we should only use quantitative analysis. No. So these are flexible. So this is a question. This is an example of quantitative approach where we are summarizing data. And qualitative approach is data enhancer. So we pick out when do we do qualitative, when do we do quantitative. What is the criteria? One big criteria. There are many criteria. One big criterion. Huh?
If you want to generate idea thoughts, then it is a qualitative. But when where do I have
Here also we are trying to generate things, but you are, I think you are getting it, but
if
you
you
are not able to
want
put it
to,
forward.
want to measure impact, or if you want to analyze, then you can use
Impact for quantitative also.
When we want to explore.
Correct. What situations do we try to explore? Supposing here, in this survey, 1000, in 990 cases, I found that the cases means supposing, let me just broaden it a little because 1000 is very small for a survey, a big survey, say 1000 households. And I see the children immunized in that household. Okay. In 990 household, I find that the children have gone to the ICDs for immunization, and the remaining households, a person comes and immunizes them, but they're immunized. Well and good. Okay. So in quantitative research, that percentage is only the form of a percentage. I just know that 990 households, the people take the accessibility of the ICDs, and in the rest 10, there is something different. Why is a person coming and giving the immunization? I do not know the reason. I just observe. Then I come back and I just write the thing. But something in my mind says I should explore more. I should explore more. See, the qualitative cap is now being put on in quantitative research. So we are heading towards something called mixed methods research. That is out of necessity. I have not designed it, but not out of force. This is the best type of thing that can happen in a research. Something coming, something being generated spontaneously because of the need of the field. The field is inviting you for something different. So let me go and explore these 10 cases. Who is that person coming in? Is it a private enterprise? Is it some NGO professional? Is it somebody, some quack or something who is coming and doing it and taking a little bit of more money? I don't know what. But there is this thing. So take those 10 households as case studies. So we are generating a small amount of qualitative part in quantitative research, although my main approach was quantitative. So I have case studies, little bit of case studies. So we can do this also. This is called the mixed methods research. But what is happening now, it's a very convenient way of working. Mixed methods. Chanachur. No? It's very nice. All of, and it's very safe also. Is it qualitative? I don't know. Is it qualitative? Is it mixed? Mixed. Very safe. Because I don't know what is qualitative. I don't know what is quantitative. I know what is mixed because both are there. Safe. Like when my mother used to teach me, what will you do here? Problem sum, no? Mother, addition. Addition. Subtraction. Subtraction. Multiplication. Multiplication. Then division. So like this. Qualitative. Quantitative. Mixed. Mixed. Very good to justify. So don't be such researchers. For me, I started with quantitative because I know in a survey I have to take if I have to know how many children are immunized, I have to take a big area. I cannot go to one or two specific villages and see and say predict. But doing a quantitative research, something else they generated, and I thought maybe for those 10, qualitative exploration would be better. So I changed. See again, this is the utility of pilot survey. Even if you were in midway research also, you can change your research design because why? It is the need of the field. Field should be priority. Never be untrue to your field. On the other hand, your research will be very interesting. You can write a lot of things. Not just one line, 60% are immunized, then it's very boring. You can explore it. It's becoming what? Investigative journalism type thing. You go and ask, who is that person? Go again and see what is that person doing, what is that person coming from. Maybe that person is good only. You never know. Again, we have a bias. You never know. Okay. So this is it. So what is this research is separate from what is data, what is analysis. Data can be both. Actually, qualitative data can be in quantitative research, qualitative research, mixed methods, everywhere. You can have qualitative form of qualitative data. You can have quantitative form of qualitative data. Very easy. Male, female, gender, no male, female, and T, third. So 1, 2, 3, quantitative form of qualitative data. So easy. So data is, you can play around with data. No problem. Nobody will tell you anything. Analysis, you can play around on the mobile. You use statistics, you use SPSS for quantitative, you use Atlas style for qualitative, you are free. Just that your conceptualization of the problem should be justified. Now in that you can add certain inputs from any other things, but I was wanting to do a survey, that is quantitative research. I should be clear in that. It is not that I do a survey of, say, coping strategies of HIV/AIDS caregivers. Will it be a good survey? Will it be a survey at all? HIV/AIDS caregivers. Homes, unfortunate homes where there are people suffering from HIV/AIDS, their caregivers and their coping strategies, because it's a very tough life. I'm not talking about the client or the person who is suffering, I'm talking about the person who is giving the care. Constant care with the mother, the spouse, whoever. Sometimes neighbors, sometimes doctors, sometimes nobody. Then, so if this is a situation, like I was asking, when do you do qualitative research? These are sensitive situations. It's not that it happens here and there. Immunization, you will get a lot of things. So you should know where to use a qualitative research, where to go for a quantitative research. I will never tell you, go for a survey in coping strategies. That the things, it will hit you. So you should know the approach. It's not that you cannot write number of caregivers in depression, 60%. Same only, 60%. Number of caregivers into depression. Because of their situation, they are into depression. So you do a psychological testing. 60%, so I gave quantitative data. But the research is qualitative. So data and analysis you can play around. But what I am wanting to understand is, be very careful about the approach to research. You should not dilute your reasoning in that. Understood? Can I give them the slides? No. No, because it's difficult. They will have a session of qualitative,
No.
So this is just, you can go through. If you want, you can take the slides, whatever. Variables, okay. Universe, what is it telling? It is the entire group. This is what you should identify first. Sample and all comes later. What is my universe? Who are the people? Who are all the people from whom I will get data? Who are all the people? And this all is defined by what? This all is defined by your objectives of research. Correct? It should be like one garland, your research. Which is the first flower? The title, that's the first flower, the very important part. Your title should contain the gist of research. Then looking at your title, anybody, because why, in this age of internet, you want, of course, your research to be read by people, not after you get the degree, put it in the cupboard. No, don't do research like that. No? So you will give it on internet. And if you are, of course, university, the website, they give it. Give it. Yes. So people will read it. How? Keywords. So how does the computer search? The title. So your title should be self-explanatory. So that's the first flower. Second flower? Huh? No, don't go chapter wise. Give up. Objectives. Introduction and all is final form. You could have said review. But review What is the output? Your objectives. You are focusing, you are clarifying, you are doing a precision of your mind, you are knowing what is there here and there. Objectives. Third flower. Why? What is the thread? The thread is coming. Okay, I'll talk about the thread later. Third flower. Methodology. Correct. Fourth flower. It's very easy. Steps in the research process. You're right. No, but I will try the garland. You are just putting in the flowers. Analysis. Okay. You can put smaller flowers also. You can put smaller flowers also. Yes. Statement of the problem will come. Same introduction. All the review of literature. Okay. No, I've gone through data analysis. And then after data analysis? Findings. Then another flower. Discussion. Finished? How to tie it? You have just made it a full thing like this. And you put the garland, it will fall off. PhD falling off. Yes. Conclusion is another flower. But how do I tie it to the title? So that is the thread. That is the thread. The thread of keywords is the keywords are your thread. Title. In the title you have keywords, no? Prevalence, efficiency, exploration, evolution. These are keywords you use, no? Performance. Some keywords, one or more maybe. In the selected areas, these are the district, this is the village level analysis, SHGs, children, women, empowerment, bap. Social science is varied, isn't it? So you have keywords. Those keywords, this is the thread now I'm talking about. Those keywords are into the objectives. Don't forget that. Otherwise you lose track. So the thread goes. Those keywords have to be what are they called? Operationally defined in the methodology. Sample. Those keywords will go into the questionnaire because you are wanting to ask about on those keywords, isn't it? Those keywords will follow in the analysis. If you are arranged your thing well, that is how it will work. And finally, what is the difference between analysis and interpretation? Here I am tying the thread. But we'll tie the knot. Analysis and interpretation. Very, very simple thing. Difference? You know. Just that you just can't say.
Interpretation is in the light of the objectives and
Correct. She has taken the clue. Yes, correct. What is analysis?
This is the data that we have.
Correct. I'm very happy. That is how we tie the knot. Analysis is exactly what you get. SPS, it will give the tables, it will give the things. And you have to select. Because you are the master, no? You select. How many tables will you give? Don't please. This is not a tabular PhD. Okay. Select tables. Make it two-way. Make it three-way. Not one way like gender, yes, no. You write it in one sentence. That is best. Don't give tables. Don't give pie charts. One sentence. Percentage male, percentage female. Pass. Somebody will give a pie chart, percentage male, percentage female, one more bar diagram for the same data, one page gone. No. Okay, so analysis, only the data, whatever you are seeing, you are writing. Interpretation is the storytelling. Interpretation is the creation. That is what you are creating in your PhD. So interpretation will, you just said 30% of the work will fall on objectives. So you have to see whether your objectives are fulfilled. Correct? What else? After interpretation, what do you write? Correct. Conclusion, discussion. On what does it depend?
Discussion in that we do like other studies that have been done.
Very good. Fall back on review. Fall back on review. How do I fall back? Similar studies, contribution, gaps. So you have to mention this is how we tie the knot, isn't it? Fall back on review. So review is we are terribly lazy to do the review. And we are always wanting to stop the review. Do the review till the last day you write conclusion. You never know, something good may come up. So you fall back on objectives, very rightly said. You fall back on review, very rightly said. One more thing is left. Suggestions. One word, one word. Same things again, not objectives this time. Review and policy. It depends on your objectives. Policies, interventions, theoretical explorations. So here you tie them up. If you don't go through this process, what happens? You will become haphazard. You will lose that interest. What is my research contributing? Okay, so for that, start with the universe. You should know from whom I will collect the data. From whom? Who are the important people in my work? Okay. Oh, this is deduction. It finally comes. See, just see it because it's not in my thing. Starts with theory. This is a quantitative research. We do theoretical exploration first. People will send us to the libraries to go on reading things, lot of boring work, and then find out the gaps and find out the contributions and see where our objectives fit into. Develop certain hypotheses, like he said, statement of the problem, then what? Research questions, then what? Objectives. These are typical things in the thing. Research, and then data. It's very easily written data. It's such a big thing. From where do I get data? So you have to know. You have to do the methodology part and finally test the hypothesis, do a confirmation. So this is, you are going from generalizations, theory to specifications. And qualitative, just the opposite. Go from specifications, focused intervention, focused looking, and exploring. Somebody or some of you said no, that it generates hypothesis. That is what is induction. This is induction. You start from observation. It's actually you go with a blank mind, because researchers' involvement is very, very possible, very much possible, because you do an in-depth interaction. Right? We are all human beings, and we tend to be getting involved in the discussion, because you have to talk a lot to the respondents. So we know we just we are flowed off in the wave of discussion. We forget that we are researchers. Okay, the respondents may start to cry. There may be other family members coming and adding. So we may be lost also. So let us not be like that. So tentative hypothesis, the patterns, the thematic understandings, and then observation. So it is just the observation means you explore, hypothesis, you contribute hypothesis. Okay. Okay, these are all examples of universes. Anything depending on your objectives. Okay. Suddenly if somebody asks a technical thing, just know what is the element of your universe. Sometimes we may be at a loss. What is the meaning of element? It's just one unit, just one respondent, whoever it is. It may be a household, it may be a man, it may be a woman, it may be a child, it may be a physically challenged, anybody. It may be an organization. One unit from the universe of the population. It's just a technical definition. Okay. All characteristics of a population is called parameters. Okay. Population characteristics. They are called, this is also technical definition, they are called parameters. We will be trying to hunt for those characteristics in our sample. Okay. These two different things, theoretical population, accessible population. This is important. We have to acknowledge the fact that we are not omnipresent. We cannot be into everything. We are not accessible everywhere. We may not get access everywhere. First of all, one is that we are not going, and second is we are not allowed to go. Okay, so theoretically the population, and accessible is how much I will be allowed to go. Okay. Okay. It's just that if you are confused that whether we should write theoretical or accessible, it's just that acknowledge it as a limitation. You should be honest. That honesty was that last word. Don't try to hide things. Like, I was not able to go to that area because there was a political disturbance. Just don't be blind to that fact. Mention it as a limitation in your research. People will accept it. Or maybe another researcher who is reading your research will not question you. Arey, she or he did not do this area, why? Because you have mentioned limitation. So he or she will get the answer. Okay, fine. That researcher had a limitation. Okay. Otherwise, that person will say, arey, what a research. She left out the most important area of the work. But it was a limitation. At that time, we could not access that area. Always be honest about your research. Okay. Finite and infinite population. Why? What is the criteria for a finite population? See, population of a city. Yes. Correct. Countable because there's a list. You will get a ready list. Television viewers, you will not get a list. Because on this, the question of sampling will come into picture. If you have a list, it's very easy, isn't it? You know how to select. There's a method, but at least you have the beginning. But you have no list, then there's a problem. And in social science research, in most researches, you will not get a list. You think you will get a list from Panchayat, you will never get it. You will get a list from school, they will not give you. You will get a list from organizations, you have to have 3 rounds of letters moving here and there. So you better take open. Okay? No, not that way. Whatever your research demands, okay, maybe you have to then narrow down your focus. Okay. Census, all of you know, we are not at a position to do a census. It requires a lot of resources. What we do is, we take a sample. It's a part of the population that is selected according to some rule for studying the characteristics of the population. Do we know the characteristics of the population? Do we know it?
Not always.
Sometimes? Okay. If we know the characteristics of the population, then why are we taking the sample? Finish, no research. Since there are shady regions we do not know, we want to explore, we want to find out. That is research. If you know the answers, then don't do research. Or if population is accessible to you, know everything about the universe, there is no need of research. So we do not know most times the characteristics of the population. We may have an idea, general idea from review, but we do not know. Maybe we know for general idea from studies elsewhere, but from my area, there are no studies. So I have to do my research. Okay. So characteristics of the population or parameters are mostly unknown. Yes.
What is the difference between sample and model?
Sample and
Model.
Model. Model does not go with sample. Model, I being from economics, I know what a model is. Model is a framework of analysis. You need assumptions, you need process, and there are conclusions. Model is a way of analyzing data. But sample is a activity. It's a process. You select something. That's a sample. You select a small thing out of a big thing. That's a sample. But modeling is a framework. It's a big thing. It's the base of research. There may be researches on say econometric modeling. You will have assumptions. You will have a set of equations. You will have to test it, and then you get a conclusion. It's mostly in economics or modeling. Also, there are psychological modelings and theoretical modelings also there, but it does not go with sampling. Okay, as far as I am concerned. Huh? Yes, I'll come. So sampling is okay. Okay. This process is very important. It's very easily said, no, a process of selecting, but that process is very important. Because why? You have to justify the process. What is the purpose of sampling? It is to draw inference. Why? Because we do not know the population characteristics. We are trying to find out the characteristics of the sample and then infer that the population is like that. Say immunization of children in Birbhum district. Can we ask or can we know about each and every children? That will be a census method, isn't it? If I tell you, do a project on immunization of children in Birbhum, how will you go about it? Can you know whether each and every children are immunized? You will get data. It's not that you will not get data. ICDS will have data. Sampling frame is there for you. ICDS will give you data, but do you have the time? Birbhum still is accessible and possible. If I say West Bengal, you will feel the pinch. If I say India, it's in a dream. One. So, sampling, you study sample to know about the population because the population is out of our reach. We as small researchers, for us, population, studying the population is out of our resources, out of the time we have, out of the finances we have, out of the physical capacity we have, out of the manpower we have. Okay, so we study sample to draw that. Yes, please.
And again, the problem comes if we don't know the population.
Yes.
If the population is unknown.
Yes.
Now, how we can derive the sample out of that and how we will say that it's a representative sample of it.
Yes.
Since we don't know the characteristics of our population and we will not know how, we don't know how much is the total population. So how did we derive a sample out of it and how do we
You have to fall back on your objectives at that time. Like, depending on your nature, there's no one answer to this. Okay, that this is the thing, you go for this. Okay, there are statistical techniques of, see, if you are doing a quantitative research, qualitative there is no problem, you take a smaller step. If you want to do a quantitative research and go in for testing and all, then there are different techniques, different formula for finite population and infinite population. So you have to take the help of a statistician at that time. But there are, because this is a very common problem. How will we know the universe? Okay, and how will we take? One is that you can, see, you have databases, no? If you are doing a quantitative, you are talking about quantitative research? Quantitative. Yeah. So you have different databases. There is the National Sample Survey, there are health databases, there are government databases. If you are working on an international front, there are WHO databases. Every big organization has databases. So one is that, see, for your area, you may not know the universe. One method is that you know similar research is done in different areas. Okay, and you get an idea. Just get an idea about the universe. Okay. And then, if you get an idea, on that you do it. On that you do your work. And you keep a margin of error. You keep a statistically permissible margin of error. Nobody will question. This is one. Second, you take recourse to statistical techniques for infinite population. There are statistical tests for infinite population when the population parameters are not known. Population parameters are not known. T-testing, if you go for that. There are Z-testing. There are techniques. Okay. Because many cases you will find that you will not know the universe, particularly for social science researchers. And last but not the least, go in for at least a minimum safe sample. Minimum safe sample, like say we say 300, 400 is a minimum safe. Depending, of course, you have to relate it to your universe. Yes.
Now, since the population is unknown, can we use non-probability sampling?
I will not say yes, I will not say no, because I cannot say it without looking at your objectives. That is your, I mean, see,
No, so it's like
many books are talking about that if the population is not known, then it's not like feasible to go with.
What if you don't like the idea?
That's what I was confused.
Yes, that is what if you know. Then see, it's completely different. If you are going in for quantitative research, you wanted to do a quantitative research. That means you wanted to generalize things. You wanted to look at a bigger picture. You wanted to use statistical techniques because you are comfortable in that. It is your comfort zone. But you are not finding the universe is not at all a problem actually. You don't need it. Maybe you will get an idea. Maybe you will get statistical techniques way out. I am not a statistician, so but there are techniques. There are techniques. If you want to do a qualitative research, or if you are forced to do a qualitative research, oh thank you so much. Forced to do a qualitative research, that will be going against your will, and you will not be happy. What if you can manage to integrate certain qualitative aspects? It's fine, but that is not because you're not getting a universe. Okay. This is not this for that and that for this. No. There are, because it's a very common problem, and there are, I would advise you go and speak to experts in statistics who have done work on sample size. Okay. Because there are way outs. Don't, just substitute something for the other. Sampling frame meeting. This is a list. It's just a list from where you get the entire details of the sample. Just be sure that it is authentic. Just be sure it is serving your purpose. And just be sure you can refer to it. We always prefer government data or government sampling frames. We prefer sampling frames of organized units, organizations. It's not that a private person gives you any sampling frame and you accept it, and because it's very convenient for you. Don't do that. So if you get the sampling frame, okay, half your work is done. Okay, so that is the best thing that can happen. Okay. Parameter statistic. Oh, the corresponding characteristics of the sample are called statistic, and the characteristics of the population are called parameters. Variable of interest in the population. That is what you try to, like when we are talking about Birbhum, we are not actually wanting to know the percentage of children immunized in 1,000 children. We are not wanting this. It's a very narrow objective. What we want is Birbhum. So we are wanting to talk about, we wanted to know about Birbhum from the 1,000 children. So that's a big thing, isn't it? We are questioning only 1,000 households and we are inferring on entire Birbhum district. So it's a very, very big thing that we are doing. So our area of interest is Birbhum, not the 1,000. For this, whenever you are going in for quantitative research, pure quantitative research always include testing. Without testing, you cannot infer. All that you can say is, in this sample, the percentage of children immunized is 60%. Yes. Very simple, very narrow way of. No, what for testing? You have testing. If see, we are anybody from statistics here? We are not from statistics. Okay, so we are a community. But we know, since quantitative research, we cannot deny statistics. So we have to take help of statisticians. Just advise that if we are going the correct direction. Okay. So go, because testing is, sometimes we are not comfortable. But if you test, only then you can say, in Birbhum district, this 60% is significantly, statistically tested. Only then we can do that. Most of us do it, isn't it? We do a sample study and we talk about the population. We cannot do it. All we can do is in this sample. Okay. This is very simple. This is also no. Selection of a sample. Control of bias. Inappropriate sampling frame. This is very important because your entire analysis and conclusion and suggestion and discussion will be on data. So inappropriate sampling frame, it is not what your research wants. Defective measuring device in this case, your tools of data collection, questionnaire, interview schedule, matrix or checklist, whatever you have as a tool. Non-respondents, if you have people who are not responding, whether you ignore them, you forget about them, or you include them, definitely you have to include them. No response, put it. SPSS has a technique of handling no responses. One is no response, one is not found. So, differences. Okay. Put it in different levels. Indeterminacy. The sample is not determined in the scientific manner. Even if you are going in for qualitative samples, non-parametric sample, you have to justify. Natural bias in reporting data, this is what we were talking about earlier. Just try to shed as much as your biasness while not only reporting, actually data collection, reporting, analysis, whatever. Okay. Good sample, representative, minimum error, financially viable, and accessibility is a big part because sometimes we tend to be over ambitious. Without going to the field, new researchers tend to be very over ambitious. Just remember, every research is primarily an exercise of a process. It's not that people are expecting big results from us and the policymakers are waiting for our interpretations. It is an exercise which we are into learning. We are learning the process of research. So let us be authentic in the process that we are exercising. Let us not be too ambitious in our conclusions. Okay, so small sample, accessible, manageable, finite to a certain extent, representative. You take time, keep time at your hand, keep time for writing, keep time for analysis, manage your time. So everything is just connected. This is the sampling process, everybody knows this. Okay. Probability, random, non-probability. You had a class, no, on sampling? No class? You had a class, so you know the probability sampling? Just. So they could have given me a separate topic. Okay. What is the difference between a strata and a cluster? Strata is homogeneous, cluster is heterogeneous. Correct. Give an example. I should have the participation of the others also. Systematic, you know, I'll come. Systematic, you know. What is the disadvantage of systematic? You know how to use a random number table? What is the problem in systematic sampling? What is the problem? See. perfectly a random sample, isn't it? Somewhere or the other, you are having a predetermined way of accessing it. So if it coincides with some inbuilt periodicity, you are going in step. So you will get that periodicity only, you will fail to capture the other variations in the sample. Okay, say for example, just by coincidence, every 10th home has a physically challenged child. And you go on every 10th home and you get a physically challenged child. You will be dumbstruck with your output. My goodness, what is the problem? And this was an extreme example of course. But you can have very empowered people living there, very open and very exposed and working and smart. So you tend to be biased or you tend to get trapped with that inbuilt periodicity. So that is the problem of system. No, when you are using it, just remember these things and cross-check. Just do a cross-checking. Sometimes just go for a rapid selection and just see whether there is something different. Okay. Give an example of a stratified cluster. Cluster sampling, where is it usually done? Oh, you know what cluster sampling is, no? How many types? You know the types, no? 1 minute. I have. You know these types, no? So what is the given area of research or given statement of problem where we will use stratified sampling? You were talking about statement of research. I need to give you an idea. Give an example of a research which uses stratified sampling. Strata. You have layers. You have strata. Any population. Entire population, yes. Settlement patterns. Urban and rural. Okay. Okay. That's a very common strata. Okay. So that will be your strata. Okay. So you will do a comparative study. It's a comparative study. So you divide it into rural and urban, and what do you do then?
I can explain some kind of, you may say, difference in between difference of population in between these two.
Okay. You can have more complicated strata also. That's a very simple strata, isn't it? Okay, that's you need not say it's a strata actually. You can say it, of course. You need not say all. It's a comparative study. Okay, rural urban comparative study. Huh? So strata can be any organization where you have different categories of people, universities, departments, organizations, different levels of personnel. Okay, then male, female. So you have a more complicated ways of your dividing your sample. So you divide them into strata. And then select proportionately or disproportionately from each strata. Okay, cluster. What is cluster? Cluster sampling. Let us see. This is very easy. Random number. Have you ever worked with random? Or if you have to work, how will you do it random? How will you make it random? Just a revision. Fishbowl lottery method is very traditional. It's just a theoretical thing which we all teach to students. But random number table, yes, sometimes it's used because even the sample size is very small. Computer program generating random numbers, that also you can use. This is a random number table. You know how to use, depending on your sample size. Okay. Acha. Systematic sampling, you know it very well. Advantages, you know? Lot of advantages. Stratified, yes. Stratified proportionate, stratified disproportionate. Okay, cluster. We were talking about cluster. Okay. Usually, cluster sampling is done where you are dealing with geographic variety or different levels of geographical areas. Primarily, of course, these are all quantitative sampling, just to make it representative. It's just an effort to make the area of research representative of the universe. It may be two-stage, it may be multi-stage, it may be really getting complicated, this cluster sampling, but you have to be very specific in your choice of the different clusters. Okay? What are the advantages? Cost. Have you an idea about the cluster sampling? Okay. What are the disadvantages? Advantages, all of us will know. Disadvantages? Apart from simple random sampling, all these samplings have usually a higher amount of sampling error. Because the more human interventions, see, we are choosing the geographic area, we are choosing the clusters, we are choosing which cluster out of the clusters. We are having intervention, and we are having the bias and the error limit. Simple random sampling, you have the sampling frame, choose. You want a break? You want a break? I'll just finish it off, okay? Yeah, 4:30? Or should I give them a break? See? Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, please have your tea. We'll come back and finish cluster sample. Since I had the TC, I'm so biased. Please go and have tea.